Hi, my name is Amy. I'm one of your friendly librarians, and today we're going to be making a button bowl. So, in your grab and go bag, you should have Mod Podge, glue, foam brush, a balloon, and lots of buttons. Okay, so just a heads up, this grab and go is going to take a little bit to finish. It requires a lot of gluing and drying over time. So just know that it's going to take you 2, maybe 3 days to complete the whole process. But the steps in between are really simple. So we'll go ahead and we'll start by blowing up our balloon. And you will not want to blow it up all the way because we're going to make shallow bowls like this. So we'll get it just a little bit bigger. Probably about like that. So I would say that's about like 50% blown up. You get a nice round shape, and we're going to cover, the bottom probably third. So we'll get that nice shallow bowl. So we'll go ahead and tie it. So what you will also need, but not included in the bag, is some scissors. And I have a couple of plastic bowls. They need to be weighted a little bit at the bottom. So I'm just going to put some things in there to make it a little heavier so that it doesn't knock around whenever it dries. If you have a base, that would be good. Just whatever you have lying around the house that you can use. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first step is going to be to do an initial coat of glue. So you'll take your glue and you're just gonna pour it on the balloon like this, and you're gonna spread it out with your brush. And you're gonna do this with half of the balloon. So starting from the top, and you go about halfway down. Now we are on to the next step. Our balloon is dry, so we are going to put more glue on, putting it on the same spots. And as we do this, we're going to put our buttons on. I have noted in your instructions that you should put the bigger buttons on the bottom because it helps form the shape better. I'll show you this bowl. It seemed to work better with the larger buttons on the bottom. So you should have at least a few large buttons, and we're just gonna stick those on the bottom like that. And we'll continue also putting glue around. Feel free to use any cluster of colors you want. Get as creative as you feel you want to get. Or you can just randomly place them on there. You should have a variety of colors in your bag. You will use most of your buttons, so just be aware of that. And like I said, we're probably going to do about a third. We'll see how many buttons we have because we are just doing the shallow dish. So we're gonna try this and then add a little bit more glue if we need to. You also want to make sure that whenever you put your buttons on, you are getting them as close as possible. And by getting them as close as possible, you're going to make a sturdier foundation. So again, I'm taking all of the buttons that are a little bit bigger, and I'm just putting them along the top or the bottom of the button bowl. And you can move them whenever you first place them, but once you get them, so I moved mine a little bit like this, but once you get them good and sturdy, I would say do not move them. So at this point, I'm not gonna move them. I'm just going to make sure that the other buttons are as close as possible. So you will continue doing this until you have reached all of the glue. Okay, so now our buttons are all over and we have a shallow bowl that's formed. You will notice that some of the buttons are gonna slide. Just put them back in place. You might wanna put a little bit of extra glue to make sure that they stick. But don't worry, whenever you come back and everything's dry, we're going to use Mod Podge next. So that's gonna be a stronger hold and that will help to secure everything better in place. So we have everything like this right now and we're just gonna let it dry for the next 5 hours. Okay, so for our next step, as you can see, our buttons are all dry. Glue has completely dried. We are going to do another layer of Mod Podge. So you will have a container that says MP on it that is Mod Podge. So you can be generous with the amount of Mod Podge you put on here because you want this to stick really well. So we're just gonna go all the way around the balloon and do our thick coat. Okay, so here is our bowl. This is what it looks like. It's completely covered. So if you have any spots in between that need some Mod Podge, go ahead and put those on there because we want to get this really covered so that it holds. So now we are going to wait overnight for the next step. So it's the next day and we see all of our buttons have dried to our balloon. We are going to do one more layer with Mod Podge. This one we're going to do a lighter layer because we still have one more to do on the inside. But that way we make sure we get a really good hold. Okay, we've done our other layer of Mod Podge. It's just a light layer just to give it a little bit more of a stronger hold. So we will let this sit for another overnight, or if it's in the morning like it is for me, about 8 hours, and then we'll come back and we'll show you the next step. We have let our second layer of Mod Podge dry. We have waited either overnight or 8 hours. So what we're gonna do, we are not going to pop the balloon. So I want to repeat that. Do not pop balloon. We're going to cut and carefully peel out. I know you want to pop it, but, and actually this part is a little hard for me to do, so. Okay, so that's what happens whenever you pop the balloon instead of cutting it. So now we're just going to peel it out. Okay, luckily we were able to save it. So I'm glad you were able to see me popping the balloon. Because if you noticed, whenever I popped it, it started collapsing and folding in on itself. But it looks like it retained enough of its shape and it's looking really good. So I'll show you the inside. You can see a little bit of the buttons. It is kind of wet on the inside, which is normal. It's to be expected. And actually, we're going to do one more layer on the inside just to make sure everything is sticking very well. So you can take Either your glue or your Mod Podge, either will work just fine. I'm gonna do one more coat of Mod Podge. Okay, so we have let the inside layer of our Mod Podge dry, and here we go. We have our button bowl. Just a quick note, with your button bowl, it is a little pliable, so don't, purposely try to break off any buttons or anything. It'll hold its shape. Just put something, you can put like your wallet in there, some keys, your school ID, things like that. Just don't put anything too heavy that'll spill over. And you will know, this is interesting, that whenever the weather is warmer, we're getting into summer, or we are in the middle of summer, it'll be warmer and more humid outside, so these will be very pliable. But whenever the fall comes, we get some cooler days, it'll hold its shape better, so it won't be as pliable. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you for the next one.